Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Health Made Simple Show. I'm your host, Dr. Bart, and today we're going to do a deep dive on my top 3 supplements that I, for the most part, recommend for everyone. So this is coming directly after being on the road for not 2 full weeks, but weekends back to back. I was up in Syracuse, New York, a bunch of amazing men and women up there, practitioners. And then, where was I next? Figure it out in a moment here. Anyways, Birmingham, Alabama. Again, another group of incredible practitioners. Really appreciate all the men and women that show up just to dive in deeper, to learn more and more and more. This particular topics in both of these cities were gut health and adrenal health. So anyways, shout out to any of you if you are listening in this episode. Love having you here. So what I'm bringing you today is a top 3 supplements I essentially recommend for just about everyone. Of course, there's a couple of people that may not fall into the category, but frankly, almost everyone does, and you'll understand in just a moment why so. And the reason I'm doing this is because this becomes one of the most common topics I have from practitioners that are just getting started in the functional nutrition and functional health world, saying, "Doc, I'm just getting started here. I'd love to start to be able to offer some really good things for my practice members, for my clients. Where should I start?" And these are the 3 that I recommend for everybody, for a couple of reasons. They may not be the sexiest. You're not going to hear people going up and down Instagram and Facebook, beating a drum saying these are the best things in the world. They're going to change everything. But foundationally, for what we need and what we are deficient in as humans, and especially in today's culture, these 3, to me, hands down, are the top of the list. Could there be others? Yes. And this goes for you as well. If you're looking to maybe reduce your protocol and you're eating pretty good, and you're just looking to make sure that you're covering the basics, this is where we'd start. All right. Again, so keep doing the thing, keep sharing out, keep spreading love. Appreciate you guys doing what you're doing. Podcast is growing, which is cool. We're reaching more people, which is awesome. Whole idea, again, I'm going to repeat it almost every time we get on the podcast. Health is simple, folks. It's not designed to be complicated. It is complex, no doubt. Yet we have overcomplicated it by trying to go in a million different directions and a million different speeds and thinking a million different things are going to happen overnight, which they do not. So with that being said, let's just keep it simple again here today. So top 3, here we go. Number 1, no particular order. I think all 3 of these are probably equal, but no particular order here. I'm going to go with old school cod liver oil. Of course, high quality is king here. The 3 products I'm going to talk to you tonight are from Standard Process. I trust them, I value them, I use them, and I can predictably understand and expect what type of results that I'm going to get. That's huge as a practitioner. I know how these tools work, and I know what to expect from my patients and myself for that matter. So cod liver oil, number 1. Why cod liver oil? This is where we want to understand the most. So cod liver oil, think of this as an essential fatty acid. This is going to provide your body with levels of what we call DHA and EPA. DHA is what protects our brain. And yes, folks, we need that, especially with the onslaught of all the things that are inhibiting our brain health, all the things that are causing neurodegenerative diseases, the Alzheimer's, the dementias, the Parkinson's. Folks, they are rampant, they are on the rise. And the one thing that we know that protects the brain is the essential fatty acids and also cholesterols. So cod liver oil is a very good source of DHA and EPA. Is it the highest? No, and that's okay. There's others that are higher. The EPA is what protects your body against things like inflammation, your heart. So cod liver right away is protective for the brain, protective for the heart, all things inflammatory. And this is what makes cod liver oil unique to relative to, say, something like a tuna oil or something, which can be good as well. But it has naturally occurring vitamin A and vitamin D. And it's the only oil that does that. And getting a naturally occurring vitamin A or vitamin D, which are super good for our immune system. This is very rare in nature to be able to get it this way. And this is absolutely the best way to get it. So we have something's protecting our brain. Something is helping against all things inflammatory. Remember, your omega-3s is what helps facilitate the inflammatory process. So every time you think sprained ankle, joint, knee, my body's, hey, listen, I drank too much, whatever it may be, if you are inflamed, the first thing you should be going for is not in an anti-inflammatory. It should be your omega-3s. My first go-to is going to be cod liver oil. Dosings, usually they're relatively large capsules. Typically, I give people 2 of them twice a day. And follow me here, this is going to sound crazy, I bite the capsules. The advantage of biting the capsules is, one, you get to digest it faster. but it's a quality check. If you bite your fish oils and they taste really fishy, no different than when you are out at a restaurant. If you take a bite of your fish and it smells really fishy and it tastes really fishy, it is fishy, get rid of it. This is one of the ways you can tell whether or not your oils have what we call oxidized. I call them if they're skunked or not. So number one here, cod liver oil. Do I use other oils as well? Oh, of course I do. I use calamari oil. I use some other ones called Ulprima EPA and DPA, DHA. There's other fantastic ones. But if I had to narrow it down to one, and I had to just take one choice to cover the most ground, it would be cod liver oil because of its effect on helping our brain health. And folks, I'm even talking about for kids. We're talking about kids with ADD and ADHD and all these sugar issues. It is not uncommon in our house. We don't have aspirin or Tylenol and Advil. If you happen to get a headache, you pop a couple cod liver oils. You let the fatty acids help your brain downregulate inflammation. So there's so many tools that we can use that come from nature. Cod liver oil being on the top. All right, next one here, magnesium. If you've listened to my podcast before, you understand. Listen, I'm an advocate of magnesium. The two biggest reasons, and I'll dive deeper into it, but if you just listen to this part for these reasons, help you sleep, help you poop. So follow me here. Most of us are running around pretty wound up. We're staying in what we call sympathetic dominance. That's just the go, go, go. And I'm not even calling that bad. I'm just saying we're staying wound up. I know it's me. So I'm moving and grooving. I got work things. I got client things. I got travel. I got family things. I got farm things. I got dog things. And our energy tends to wind up a little bit. And one of the reasons we become deficient in magnesium is to counter all of that tightness, to counter all of that stress. Your body uses magnesium as one of the ways to help do what we call vasodilation, to unwind tight muscles, to lower your blood pressure, to create better circulation in the body. It's just a mineral, but it's one of the most important ones when it comes to what we call your parasympathetic nervous system. So remember, sympathetic nervous system is fight or flight. That's go, go, go. Our parasympathetic is the rest, digest, recover, rebuild, all of those things that we're trying to do to unwind from our busy lifestyles. Now, there are all types of different magnesiums out there. I'm going to do my best to simplify this. The one I use because I get the most consistent results, and that seems to be a trend right now. What is going to give me the best consistency? The most consistent results in helping people predictably go to sleep. I'm sorry, not to fall asleep. So magnesium is not something that helps us fall asleep. It is something that helps us stay asleep. So if you're waking up between the hours of 1 and 3, 1 and 4 a.m., most likely you have a magnesium deficiency. How do we lose magnesium? Probably the three top causes: sugar, stress, alcohol. There's others. Sweating goes right into that category as well. But if you or anyone you know is eating sugar, you have any stress, and you're drinking any alcohol, maybe you're sweating it out, you're most likely depleted in your magnesium. And the beauty is just a mineral, easy to replenish. I use magnesium lactate. There's a lot of other good ones out there. They all do things a little bit differently. Some are better for getting in the musculoskeletal system. Some are better for the stomach. Some are better for crossing the blood-brain barrier. My favorite for that reason, when people say, well, this one crosses the blood-brain barrier, Standard Process also makes another magnesium product called Easy Mag. And this has been researched to cross the blood-brain barrier better than any others out there. It's a multiform, meaning that is all of the magnesiums, all of them together in this one source. It's called Easy Mag. You need to dose up a little bit, probably 2 tablets twice a day, about 4. They're a little bit larger. Phenomenal product. But just to simplify our conversation today, if someone has any issues with sleeping, I put my hands on them as a chiropractor and I feel that their body is staying wound up, or someone that says, I'm always tight. Most likely that is a magnesium deficiency that's inhibiting your fascia. That's the outer layer of the muscle, outer layer of everything that's kind of being held together here. That's an inability for that layer to relax. So the chiropractors listening to this, you feel it all the time. For all those patients that are lying down and they're tight day in and day out, adjustment after adjustment, they're staying tight. Almost all of them are magnesium deficient. Another little side note here about magnesium. It is also involved in all migraine headache issues. It might not be the primary reason people have migraines, but I will tell you, every single case I've ever seen, there's a magnesium deficiency, or at least some component of the migraine includes a deficiency in magnesium. And then also, almost every single heart case out there is benefiting when we add magnesium. Again, magnesium is a vasodilator. It means it helps the arteries and the vessels open up so you can get better blood flow. At bare minimum, using it on almost all of my cases when we have high blood pressures, it's just something very simple, very easy. We add some more magnesium and we let the musculoskeletal system start to unwind. So is it a drug? No. Am I telling anyone right now that this is medical advice or anything? No, I'm just saying, listen, you want your body to work better, the muscles and the arteries to start to relax a little bit more. If you're magnesium deficient, it's very difficult to do. Many of you are familiar with something called calcium, which is another mineral. It's one of our primaries. It is one of your electrolytes. Magnesium is used for muscle contraction. So to make the impulse of the strong muscle, calcium helps contract, magnesium helps relax. So often there's an imbalance in those two, and usually it is the magnesium that's deficient. So that's number 2 there. Typically, I do this. I'll have someone start on 3 magnesium lactates before bed. The nice thing is we just find things like even deep sleep. So I'm a big advocate of measuring what type of sleep we have. So I've become a little bit obsessed with it over probably the last decade or so, knowing that if the better you or the more you get what's called deep sleep, it is definitely a component of longevity. So if you can get a couple hours per night of deep sleep, that's a ticket for longevity. And one of the tools that I use to help that is magnesium. That's actually tool number 1. So if someone comes into me and says, Doc, I have one of these Oura rings, or I'm measuring my deep sleep with my Whoop or my Apple Watch, and I don't get very good scores. First thing I do is put them on magnesium for a week and see if we haven't improved the scores. And almost within the week, almost always within a week's time, we start to improve deep sleep. So that would be one of the reasons, folks. And listen, magnesium's not that sexy. You're not going to take it and be like, oh my goodness, I feel so much better. But we can see functionally that the body starts to relax. We can see the blood pressure start to lower. We see the vasodilation happen. We see people sleep better. And listen, you start sleeping better, your life gets better, period. All right, with that being said, let's move on to number 3 here. And this one you've probably never heard of, unless you've listened to my podcast or some other podcasts that are doing similar work here. And this is a digestive enzyme. This is called Zypan. Now, of the group here, of all the supplements out there, there's probably the least sexy, but maybe the single most important. Why is that? Unfortunately, as time goes, our guts get beat up. They become weaker and weaker. They become weaker in the ability to digest our food. So even if you are eating good foods, what we're seeing now is that people are having a harder and harder time to break down their food. So they cannot assimilate it, meaning they cannot absorb their nutrients, even though they're eating good. Many of you listening to this podcast right now have health issues, even though you've been eating really good for long periods of time. Another symptom would be that you're eating really good food, 20, 30 minutes later after you're eating, you're still hungry. Now you want something sweet. And what that tells me is that you're not breaking your food down, literally in your stomach, or what we call your upper GI system. Your stomach is supposed to be super acidic. And this is where everyone gets a little confused. They think, Doc, aren't I supposed to be alkaline? No, not in your stomach. Your blood, absolutely alkaline. But the rest of your body, no. It's supposed to be acidic. Your stomach's supposed to be probably between 0.5 and maybe 3.0, and that's considered super, super acidic. Unfortunately, when people go on things like Prilosec and these antacids, and it raises that pH way above that, goes up to 5 and 6 and sometimes even 7. And what that means to us, the foods like proteins, can't break them down. Collagen, you can't break it down. And if we can't break down our foods, then we don't like those foods because they don't feel good in our gut. So one of the things I hear very frequently, frankly, is that, Doc, I got off red meat. I'm doing healthy things. And I'll ask them, why'd you get off red meat? Well, every time I eat it, it doesn't feel good. It feels like it's sitting in my stomach like a brick. So it just doesn't agree with me. So I stopped eating and I feel better as a result of it. Unfortunately, folks, that's a red flag. That tells us you are losing your capacity to break down one of the most important foods for the human body, which is essential amino acids and essential fatty acids. So this digestive enzyme called Zypan, really what it is, it's hydrochloric acid, hydrochloride, and that is what changes the pH, that gets it nice and low. Then they've added, this is what's fascinating. This is why I love that there's really, really smart people at places like Santa Process and at places like MediHerb that are coming up with these formulas. So people like myself, practitioners, can help other people because they come up with these absolutely brilliant formulas. So what they did is they put the hydrochloride with something called pepsin. And pepsin, some of you might be familiar with it. Pepsin is a digestive enzyme as well. Yet pepsin is one of the most efficient digestive enzymes that we have because typically it lives predominantly in the upper small intestine. And this pepsin is often depleted because we really just kicked our intestines' butts. Alcohol use, antibiotic use, all of these different things. It breaks down the microvilli, breaks down the microbiome, and unfortunately, there's no more pepsin there. Now, here's why I want you to hear this out. If we don't have ample amounts of pepsin, you can't break down collagen. And that means a lot of different things. That means you're not going to like food that has high collagen in it. Things like red meat, things like our animal proteins, because that is what has a lot of collagen. That is what's difficult to break down. It's not so necessarily the protein, it's the collagen. So the product Zypan has hydrochloride, it has pepsin, and then it also has something called ammonium chloride, which is an acidifier, which is absolutely a brilliant component of just helping the GI system relax a little bit so it doesn't grow things like candida. So things like parasites are very unhappy and they want to get the heck out of you. So things like viruses are very unstable in this acidic environment. So this is why I say it's one of the least sexy, but maybe the most important, because if we can't break down our foods properly, in most of us, especially once you get to that 40 years old, 50 years old, or more, we just see the evidence over and over again that your hydrochloric acid in your stomach has become weaker and weaker. One more thing I'll add to this. Not only does a digestive enzyme like this, and there's all different types out of this. So if you're on one, what you really want to make sure is that it does have the pepsin, that it does have the hydrochloride, because that is really the magic here. Here's the other thing that it does. We hear more and more people talk about parasites. And absolutely, folks, everyone got parasites. How do people get them? Here's how it happens. The stomach acid, your stomach acid is weak, and the parasites are not getting killed off in your stomach. That's how it happens. So not only does it help you break down your food, but it's part of your immune system helping protect you. So when we take things like antacids and Prilosec and all these things, these proton pump inhibitors, unfortunately, you're creating a very vulnerable situation where unfortunately now the bad guys can get past that first line of defense, which is your stomach acid, and into your small intestine, which then they get there and they're going to have a party because that's where all the things are being fermented. That's where everything's being broken down, and they get to have a feast on everything, especially when you start putting carbohydrates in your body. The goal is that they don't get down in there. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to make sure that we have ample amounts of hydrochloric acid in our stomachs. And for most of it, that means supplement. How do we do it? Typically, you take 2 of the Zypan, they're digestive enzymes, prior to eating. If you forget, then you take it during your meal. If you forget, then you take it right afterwards. And again, nothing that I say here today on this podcast is to be construed as medical advice. I'm treating anything for you. We're really just having a conversation. How do we level up? How do we level up the human body? What can we give our body? What deficiencies may we have along this thing that we call life that may be inhibiting us from being the best version of ourselves? My top 3 is I'm going to repeat them for you. Old school cod liver oil, number 2, magnesium, and these are no particular order. And number 3 is Zypan, a digestive enzyme. All right, folks. Well, hope you enjoyed this podcast. Keep doing your thing. Keep sharing it out. Keep spreading the love. And make sure you continue to take deliberate action for your mind, for your body, your overall wealth. Y'all be awesome.